Okay.
All right, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. We have, oh, okay. Hey, Cindy. Who else? Who else? Everyone has all these note takers. Hey, Deborah. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Cindy.
Hi, Anthony. Hi, Angela. I'm excited to hear from you today. Thanks for being here for us.
Yeah,
Yes,
this
of
is going to be
course.
great. This is going to be great. I'm going to give it 2 more minutes. Angela has a power-packed presentation, so I don't want to hold it up for too much longer. I'm going to give it till 3:03 and we're going to get cracking. If everyone wouldn't mind, maybe um, turning your cameras on just so we could be fully immersed. Angela has a lot of great information for us if you can. We'd really appreciate that. Oh, let me let everyone else in here. We are recording. Okay. All right. Hey, Colby, how are you?
Good. How
Great
are
to see
you?
you. Good, good.
Anthony, it's you and the ladies. I love it. Look at this room. It's awesome.
Total
I'm
chick
waiting.
magnet.
I'm waiting for Elkin to join in, so I won't be the only guy here. All right. All right. You know what? Let's get started because, like I said, Angela has a power pack presentation. So, um, firstly, thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day for attending this. Um, I'm really excited to have Angela here. Oh, Eva's here. Admit. Okay. Um, I'm really excited to have Angela here. She is a wealth coach and a financial management coach here. She's been doing it for quite a long time, has a ton of clients. And one of the reasons I wanted to have Angela here, not only because she's a great person and a super kind person, but we always hear when we always get a lot of coaching, which is great on getting business and getting leads, how to do listing presentations, how to work with buyers, and how to basically bring money in the door. But what's not spoken about so much is how we keep that money that we earn. And all too often, whether it be shiny object syndrome or whatever, we make the money and then it goes right out the back door. And then we turn around at the end of the year, especially because a lot of us have been speaking about business planning. We turn around, we do all this business, and then we turn around and we're like, where'd the money go? At least I'm like that sometimes. So I think this is a fantastic forum for someone like Angela to come on here and really speak to us about that. Um, and talk to us about how we can go about managing our money more efficiently and more responsibly. Um, just really quickly before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind putting in the chat where you're from, hopefully we could get maybe some referrals going across the country. That would be great. Start popping that in. Um, but since we are kind of pressed for time because Angela has a good, really thorough presentation, I'm not going to go into too much more housekeeping stuff. So again, I'd like to introduce Angela Dyer, the owner and CEO of the Wealthy Agent Coaching. Again, for all the people that have joined later on, she is a luxury agent as well as a financial coach. So with that, Angela, take it away. It's great to have you. Thank you again for taking the time to speak with us today.
Well, thank you, Anthony. I am very excited to be on with you all today. Um, I will go ahead and do a presentation if that's okay, Anthony, and I think I need screen share access if you're able to give that to me.
Go for it. Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. As Anthony said, my name is Angela Dyer. Today I'm going to do, I call it my signature presentation because it really is the foundation of how to change your finances when it comes to your business. I know thinking about when I became a new agent, like if someone comes in, especially as a new agent, we're taught how to get leads, as Anthony said. We're taught about how to, grow our business. But then before you know it, the money starts rolling in and we just don't know what to do with it. How do I do it? What do I do with it? Where do I put it? Do I need an LLC? Do I not need an LLC? All of those things. And sometimes for some people, decades can go by and we still haven't made that decision. So first of all, my attorneys always ask me, I do a disclosure. Um, I say this in all sincerity. What I'm going to teach you today is a great foundation. Always talk to your accountants and your legal advice and any other professional services that you feel are necessary to say, hey, how does what Angela taught fit my life? How can I make sure that me implementing this is going to fit what I am trying to accomplish? So a little introduction about myself. I'm going to go into a story because I really want to set the foundation for you to understand where I've come from to where I am at today. I think it's really important when we understand someone's background to kind of say, you know what? If she can do it, why can't I do it? I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it too. So currently I live outside of Charleston, South Carolina. Has anybody ever visited this particular area on the East Coast? It is gorgeous. I see some hands raised. It is absolutely breathtaking. This was not by choice. Or by chance. This was by choice. I grew up in Pennsylvania, cold, cold, cold winters. Today, particularly, is very cold up there. And slowly moved myself down the East Coast. I ended up and I landed in Charleston because I said I want to live by the water. I need ocean. I need to be able to drive to the ocean in under 10 minutes. And the little subsection that I live in on my screen here is where that tropical storm warning little light is on the screen. The average home of where I live is $1.8 million. You have to have wealth in order to live where I live. And I don't say that out of boast. I say that because it took a lot for me to be able to live here. It took a lot. But I always say, if I can do it, you can do it too. And you have to visit Charleston if you haven't. You have to put it on your bucket list. But it always wasn't this way for me. This is not how I grew up. So let me start you back in 1981. December 1981, my mother's only sister, my Aunt Dolores, was found tragically murdered in Florida. She went missing, and unfortunately, a few days had gone by, and people had reported, and into trying to figure out what had happened, they found her remains. 4 months later, I was born. I was born into a family that was torn apart, was pointing fingers at each other because at this point, nobody knew who did it. It was a very depressing environment. My mother, God love her, I don't even know how she survived that sometimes. As you could imagine your sister finding out that she's been murdered. Your only friend, your only confidant was gone. Up until literally about 2 weeks ago, this file had been a cold case file, and an investigator picked it up about 2 weeks, actually a couple months ago at this point. They aired it live on CBS for anyone that likes cold case files. You can pull it up directly and see it. They did an interview with my sister, and they are starting to look back into the investigation. But I tell you that in all because the environment to begin with for me was not stable. It was not healthy. It was really, really difficult for my mother. And so over the next 16 years, you're going to find out it was my mom, my sister, and myself. I grew up in complete poverty. And when I say complete poverty, I mean complete poverty. We lived on welfare. We lived on government assistance. And I thank God every day that we have government assistance, or we had government assistance available to us. We lived in under 500 square foot home, apartments, oftentimes without heat, sometimes without water, and most of the times without food. We relied on food banks for the food that we had, and I relied on school lunches, school breakfasts for most of the food that I had. I grew up completely in generational poverty. Generation after generation after generation before me had maybe a seventh grade education. This is my grandfather who passed away right before COVID. And even up through him and my sister and her siblings, all of them had at most a seventh grade education. Two of my uncles, because of my aunt's murder, turned to drugs, turned to addiction, turned to homelessness. They ended up living on the streets for almost my entire childhood. And I was driving around my town and to see my uncles literally living on the street, knowing though that if I gave them food or if I gave them money, they would sell it to get more drugs. So it was hard. It was really, really, really hard. Every day I would walk in the bathroom and I would see my mom crying. She was obviously very depressed for this. She barely get herself out from crying over everything that happened in our life so far. And if it wasn't bad enough, over the next 16 years, we moved 16 times. 16 times in 16 years. My mother suffered from multiple mental disorders, and she still does. She's still alive. You name it, she has it. Manic depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, panic disorders. She's got everything. And so over the next 16 years, we would just get settled in a place. And she would say, her panic disorder would kick in, and she would say, it's time to move. It's time to move. It's time to move. We didn't have any transportation. So thankfully, knock on wood, we didn't leave our town. We just moved from place to place to place to place because she was always worried someone was going to come after us. At age 16, the building I lived in with my mother tragically burned down. There was a garage attached, and this building here looks very much like it. The little part on the bottom was like a little garage that was attached that a neighbor was renting out. And they threw oily rags into a bucket that eventually caught on fire. The whole thing burned down. The whole place burned down. And I essentially became homeless overnight. My mom suffered from a massive breakdown at that point and literally kicked me out. She said, wherever I'm going, you are not coming with me. So I ended up sleeping in my car for a period of a couple nights before I said to myself, either Angela, you can go down like everybody else in your family, or you can decide to make a change. You can take your life into your own hands. You can decide to do things different from the rest of your family that has done it for generation after generation. And one thing I understood, sorry, you guys, I don't know where the noise is coming from if you hear it. One thing I know is even at age 16, I said to myself, it is time to grab hold of my life and pull myself out, or I was going to end up on drugs, murdered, or homeless, like many of my family members at that point. So what did I do? Within a few days, I actually found an apartment. I walked up to this apartment building. This is the exact picture of the apartment. And I asked the owner of that apartment building, would you rent to a 16-year-old? And he kind of looked at me a little funny and he said, are you going to pay me? I said, I will pay you if I have to sell the clothes off my back. I will pay you. And that little apartment cost me $300 a month at age 16 You can imagine $300 to a 16-year-old, that's a lot of money. I really think looking back, that was probably half the money, if not more, than what I made in an entire month. I had to learn at age 16 how to pay my bills, how to buy my clothes, how to get my own food. I literally supported myself for a full 2 years, not having a roadmap, not having a blueprint, and for sure not understanding how money operated. Because in our house, there was no money. There was no money to do anything with. So I had to figure it out. And then the corners started to turn. I decided to work really hard. And one thing I knew about myself is I knew I had a brain. I knew I was smart. I graduated top of my class in my high school, and I knew that as long as I leaned into my education, something good was going to come from that. So I figured out how to get myself into college. I got a bachelor's in psychology. When I was looking at the choices of what am I going to go to school for, and where am I going to go to school, I read the description of psychology and was like, oh, brain science. I kind of like that. I had no idea what it was, but I said to myself, brain science, maybe that means I can somehow change my own brain and make sure that I don't end up with my mother's. So that was really the decision behind why I said psychology. I absolutely love psychology and I still love psychology to this day, which is why I love being a coach. I implement a lot of my psychology teachings and practices that I did as a therapist into my own coaching structure. And then I said, Angela, one day you have to own your own business. You don't know what that looks like, but that is how you're going to pull yourself out and become a multimillionaire. Own your own business one day. So I got myself a master's degree in business. The same time I met my husband. That's our picture right there. That was one of the first pictures 25 years ago next month. We met right before Valentine's Day when we started to date. And we've been together ever since. I got a job in banking, I got a job in finance, and I worked myself up. You're going to learn more about that in a minute. And at 26 years old, I purchased my first home. That is where my love of real estate kicked in. That is when I said to myself, huh, real estate, I think I can build some wealth here. I think I might actually like to learn more about real estate because at that point, nobody in my family had owned a home. I didn't know anybody besides my grandparents on my dad's side that actually owned a home. I dove into banking, and over the next 15 years, I spent in that career and I learned and I learned and I learned. And when I saw a client of mine doing something that built wealth, I implemented in my own life. So I worked with over 10,000 companies in 15 years, and my job was to go into those companies, figure out how to make them more money, how to save them more money, and how to build them their wealth. Because when they became more wealthy, they made more money and they took the money and they put it in the bank. So I had to make as many people as wealthy and as much wealth as possible. And throughout those years, I said to myself, oh, what are they doing? Let me implement that. Oh, what is he doing? Let me implement that. I had no blueprint. I had no script. I had nowhere else to go except for learning from other people of what worked. By the time I left that career, that top left picture, I was vice president of the bank at 38 years old. I left because I knew one day I was going to be my own entrepreneur and I was going to be able to teach what I learned over those 15 years to the masses because I knew I had a bigger purpose in life. And then at the same time, my husband and I said, okay, we've been together for 20 years. It's time to have a family. During that time, it was coming December. That was December of 2019. Anybody remember that time? Right before COVID hit. Everything was humming along. I still had my banking career. We were all doing really great. And then COVID hit in about February. And I kept saying to myself, this is stressful. This is a lot. And especially in that environment, I was working 70 hours to 80 hours a week minimum, trying to help my small business clients survive. It was full on all the time. May 2nd, 2020 is the day that I gave birth to my daughter. And those are the masks the morning of that I was going in for delivery. And I said to myself, I know my life is about to change, but I don't exactly know what that meant. And then I became a new mom. And I said, 78 hours a week is not going to be possible. Working for all of these businesses that were calling me and constantly trying to figure out how I could fix them when I was just trying to raise a child. And that is when I decided I gotta quit. I have to take the leap of faith. I've got to jump into this thing called real estate. I need to figure that out because I know that is part of my future. So I became a real estate agent just like you. At that point, I had been managing my own properties. I understood what it took to be a real estate agent. I understood what it took to grow my business as an agent. And then as I'm working in my brokerage, I look at the agents at that time making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I joined a luxury brokerage, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And as soon as the money was coming in, the money was going out. I saw the cars driving up. I saw the new clothes getting put on. I saw the diamond rings on their fingers. And I was like, what is happening right now? I just left this world of very conservative money management into this world of, wow, all these people are awesomely making all this money, but obviously just don't know how to manage it. So I started coaching and training in my own office. I started with one realtor friend who would let me teach her how to manage money. And before I knew it, within a month, I was training everybody. Everybody in my real estate office, I was coaching them and training them how to manage their money. They just simply didn't know. And I say this to you also. We weren't taught to how to manage our money. I wasn't taught how to manage my money. I wasn't born with the skill. I had to learn it and then I had to implement it and had to do it and practice it every single day. And because of that choice to leave that career in banking, to move into the world of real estate and to help real estate agents, I said, oh my gosh, I have these two passions, real estate and coaching on money. How can I really put this together? So then I niched down. I said, in order for me to be able to do both businesses, I have to really focus my energy on luxury real estate clients. And I loved that space. I loved working with those individuals, and I still do because I learn from them. I see the businesses that they operate. I see how they manage their money and maybe the things that I still am learning along my own path. My average client that I work with in 1 year saves $70,000. So because I figured out working with my real estate clients in the real estate space, it allowed me to grow this coaching company where I can save the average real estate agent $70,000 a year through something I call conscious behavior changes. And you're going to learn a little bit about that in a minute. Conscious behavior changes, doing things differently, rewiring our brain to transform in a way that we haven't transformed before. My top client has saved $275,000 in 12 months. 275 in 12 months. Life changing, you guys. Life changing. So when I go into my psychology background and I looked at something called cognitive behavior therapy, and it's something that I do with all of my clients in the beginning, but it's something you can do for yourself too, very, very high overview. For us to transform ourselves, to change our patterns of behavior with our money, To know the money is coming out, but the money is or coming in, but the money is going out just as fast as it's coming in. That is because of patterns of behavior that we have taught ourselves year over year after year, and sometimes without even knowing. Because I oftentimes say, as soon as our income rises, what happens? Our lifestyle goes up. Our income rises, our lifestyle goes up. And it doesn't matter if we're making $10,000 or $1,000,000. I can tell you how we manage $10,000 equates to how we manage $1 million. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. So we have to start going through the transformation process. Where did this all come from? Where did how I manage my own money come from so that I can start doing things differently? So we have to look under the surface. We have to see underneath what is going on. What are my patterns of behavior? We have to look at the root. The root is your childhood. What did you notice in your childhood about money? What did you notice when you were growing up on how your family handled their money? Whether you had money or you didn't, I can tell you the outcome is the same. If you grew up in a household that had a lot of money, your pressure was, I have to continue making a lot of money. I have to continue living in the legacy my family created. How am I going to do that? That's a lot of pressure. And at the same time, if you grew up in a family that had no money, the idea was, well, how am I going to make money? How do I change my life? How do I make better for myself? The same circumstance happens in both. The stress is real. So you have to discover the root. What was your childhood? What did that look like? What did the things around you transpire? How did your parents handle money? Or did they talk about money? Did they argue about money in front of you? Maybe you grew up a single mom like I did, or a single dad. How did they handle their money? Because a lot of that was passed to you unconsciously. Then we have to know your patterns of behavior. What are your patterns of behavior? What's your trigger? We all have a trigger. We all have a trigger when it comes to our finances or our money. When we experience a period of stress, a certain type of stress, oftentimes we go to money to solve the problem. And as we know, it's a temporary solution. But as we're uncovering all of these areas in our own psychology, I call it the unblocking. Because we cannot transform ourselves until we understand how we are wired, why we do the things that we do, how we do the things that we do. And when you can start unblocking yourself, it not only transforms your finances, but it transforms your life. It transforms your relationships. It transforms your business in ways that you can never expect. Often, my clients will double their business in 1 year. Double. Because they unblock themselves. They figure out what's holding them back. They figure out what's been weighing on their shoulders their entire life. Oftentimes 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and they don't even know it. And when you uncover that, it will change your life. So let's talk about being a real estate agent. As a real estate agent, we know a couple of things. We know I should not have a lot of credit card debt. We know I should be saving for my future. We know I should not have a lifestyle that exceeds my income. Do you know if your lifestyle exceeds your income? Do you know if your lifestyle exceeds your income? That's a good question. I know I should have a budget or a spending plan for my money. And I should know from check number 1, I wish someone would tell me or have told me. When I get a $10,000 commission check, that's not my commission check. That's my company's commission check. And if I don't start handling my money properly with the first commission check, I already start falling behind. There's 3 pressures in our in our profession that cause burnout. Who can feel this? Lack of system for our taxes. Lack of system for our taxes. If we don't start setting some money aside for our taxes from house number 1, what happens on house number 2? We now owe taxes on house number 1 and house number 2. And then come house number 3. If we haven't set money aside for taxes by house number 3, heck, there goes my whole commission check for taxes. So we don't have a system for our taxes alone. We're emotionally and we have time overload. As real estate agents, we do not take time off. We work and we work and we work. And we think by working more, and we don't take time off because we think we're missing out on money. But by working and working and working, we burn ourselves out, which then causes us to stop working on our business, which then causes us to not make money. The cycle is vicious. The cycle is vicious as a real estate agent. So we're on emotional load, time overload. We don't pause until it's too late oftentimes. Medical intervention happens, or because we are simply burned out. And then slow periods of time. So when we have slow periods of time, this year is a good example. We feel like we failed. We feel like, man, I didn't have any closings this month. I suck. I'm terrible at this. Maybe I should quit. Maybe I need to get a job. The emotional roller coaster around feeling like we're failures is real. And it often comes down to a financial plan because we're looking at our bank account and we're saying, man, I don't have any money in my bank account. How am I going to pay my bills? But if you could open your bank account and see that you have money set aside for periods of time that are slower, man, that changes the game. So here's our current formula, and this is how we get it wrong. First, commission check, because we don't know how to manage our money. We get that awesome commission check and we say to ourselves, ooh, what in my business can I spend this money on? And we spend the money. We get the marketing materials, we get the website, we, get our photo shoot done. We blow up our listings of all the fancy things we can impress our sellers with. And we go broke doing it. And then our personal expenses come out. Maybe we have money to pay the mortgage if we haven't spent it all in our business. And then if there's anything left over, typically not, we'll pay our taxes. But usually not until the tax man calls or a CPA says, hey, you have $15,000 or $20,000 due. Then we think about our taxes. We have to reverse how we treat our money. We have to treat our money as if we are a business owner and or we work for an employer. That is how we get it right. I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, but we get our commission check. We set money aside for our taxes. We set money aside for our strategy for our future. We set money aside for our personal salary. And then what is left over is the money we spend on our business. That's it. Whatever is left becomes very clear. This is what I have to spend on my money, on my business, so I'm going to spend that. So here's the question. When are you going to sell your last house? Because having to work and having the option to work at some point are two different paths that all lead back to the current money management. Having the option to work and having the work are two different paths that all lead back to how we manage our money today. And I can tell you that from my 75-year-old client who did not manage her money well for decades and decades and decades, and still is having to sell homes just to pay the bills because their Social Security is $650 a month. and that's not going to cut it. So we have to learn to manage our money. All right, our bank accounts. Let's talk about those for a minute. Oftentimes I hear or I see, well, I just didn't know. I put everything into one pot. So I got all my business income, all my spouse's income, all of our expenses are in one account. I don't know what's in there for what. And we just write checks as we need it. We swipe the card as we need it. And if there's anything left over the month, great. It's all kind of chaos. If I'm lucky, maybe we have a separate business account compared to a personal account. We have some type of clarity there. Business compared to personal, I know I'm supposed to be doing something separate. But still, in that account, we don't know what's in that account and we don't know what it's for. So we overspend. Our tax money, gone, spent. I had to get updated photos. They were $3,000. There goes my tax money for the month, right? What I love about the picture on the right is we all can relate to that. We walk into a home and we see a beautifully organized closet. What does that say about the homeowner? It says they care, right? It says if they've paid attention to the beautifully organized closet, how else have they maintained this home? It says a lot about a homeowner when everything is well organized. And that is what we're going to move you towards. So there's so many different banking methods out there, and I want to let you know this right up front because you might have heard some of these. There's something called zero-based budgeting, 50-30-20, the profit first method, values-based budgeting, plan ahead method, pay yourself first. There's even more than this, Green. And for me, even though some of these I was required to teach, like it wasn't an option. This is what we're teaching these clients in banking. This is what you need to lean into. But oftentimes, I even found myself holding myself back from teaching some of these because I fully couldn't buy into them. They didn't really fit the life of the person in front of me. They were very philosophical, but they didn't meet the needs of my client. And that's when I went on a mission. And I said, Angela, of all these different systems that you have taught over 20 years, which ones did you like and which one did you not like? And I came up with my own. And that's what I'm going to teach you today. The Wealthy Agent Banking Blueprint is like nothing you've ever seen before. It's going to be clear, it's going to be intentional, and it's going to be aligned with the life that you live. So now I'm going to share with you the banking structure. This is a part you want to start taking lots of notes if you're not already. You can take screenshots or pictures, whatever you might like. I'm going to show you a banking breakdown that is going to change your life. But before I do that, I want to warn you. At first, it might look a little overwhelming, but I promise you, it is life-changing, life-changing. So I call it the optimum business income breakdown. So Angela, what do I do when I get a commission check and if I ultimately want to be organized? Ultimately want to be organized with my commission check looks like 6 business accounts. 6 business accounts with different purposes that all lead into important areas of your life and address the top 3 stressors that I talked about before. So the first account is in the name of your business and the name of your LLC. And that is a first checking account. We call it the commission deposit account. It's the top account. It's the first account that all your money is going to come into. All commission checks, any rev share, anything in the name of your business is going to come into that account. No expenses come out of this account. We want it to be very clean. We want to look over 12 months bank statements and see how much money did Anthony have come in his bank accounts over the last 12 months. That allows us to plan in other ways. But it all starts with knowing what went into my bank account after my broker splits, after my fees that I owed. What did I actually get paid? First checking account is called the commission deposit account, and we label it that way. Now, the next account I'm going to share with you is in the order of which, if I worked for an employer, they would handle my money. So if I got paid by an employer, are they going to give me my money to go spend and then say, hey, Angela, if you have anything left over, give it back to us so we can go pay your taxes for you? No, they're not going to do that. They don't want to get fined or penaltied or lose their licenses, right? They're going to go and take your taxes out first. And to be honest, that's the way it needs to happen. Because there are more real estate agents that I know that have health conditions, heart attacks, high blood pressure, stroke, because they are so worried about paying for their taxes. But if we set that money aside first into a separate account and we pay our quarterly taxes, that stress is gone. That stress is gone. And we're operating as if we are truly a company. 25% of every commission check transfers into that tax account. So we want to set aside about 25%. This is where a conversation with your accountant really comes into play. Mr. Taxman, tell me my effective tax rate. Whatever that is, that's where we start here. But most real estate agents fall between 20 and 25%. I lean on the conservative point just for my presentation until it gets dialed in. But 25% of every commission check gets set aside in the beginning. So if you got a $10,000 commission check, $2,500 gets set aside for taxes. The next account is what I call my $1 million savings. When I started implementing building my own wealth at age 20, actually 18, I apologize, 18 years old, I started investing in stocks. 18, I took, even if I had $25 at that point, and I started saving. So from an early start, with every commission check, we want to start building your wealth. Even if it's 5% of every commission check until that gets dialed in. 5% of every commission check goes into an account that then I am investing into my future for. And for everyone, that looks different. That could be retirement. That could be health savings accounts. That could be life insurance policies. That could be down payments on real estate. There's so many different things that strategy can take into account, but we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. So now, after I've set my money aside for my taxes, just like if I worked for a corporation, the next thing they're taking out is my benefits. So I've got to set my money aside for my benefits. My $1 million saving is part of my own benefit package in my own company. This one's going to surprise you. So if I work for an employer, out of every paycheck they give me, they're actually also setting aside money for paid time off. So that when I take vacation or I take sick time, that company can still pay me. So we want to structure ourselves in our own company to be able to take paid time off. Yes, I know it's a concept you probably have never even heard before. But if we are setting aside a little bit of money, this gives us the permission to take a pause, to take a vacation, to take a long weekend and not feel guilty that we are not hustling and bustling on our phone working our business. It actually has the opposite effect when we take time off. and we're taking that time for ourselves, we are re-energizing ourselves, which brings us back even stronger. 5% of every single commission check is going to go into your paid time off account so that it gives you permission to take a pause. Now, with this strategy, we figure out what is your average daily pay. So, Angela, I make $100,000. How do I calculate my average daily pay? $100,000 divided by $365 days in a year gives you your average daily pay. So if I wanted to take 3 days off, truly rejuvenate, rest, I would then know my average daily pay. And I could come into this account, my paid time off, and I could reimburse myself. And I'm going to show you that in a minute once I show the other accounts. This gives me permission to take the time I need to take. The next account is our personal expense account. So this is 35% of every commission check. We get that $10,000 commission check, 35% goes into this account. This is for my personal expenses. This is where I come into this business account and every month or every 2 weeks, I am drawing a paycheck because I have figured out what my personal expenses are in a month and how much I need. So if I figured out I need $5,000 a month to pay my personal expenses, I'm going to come to my business personal expense account, and once a month or twice a month, I'm going to transfer $5,000 into my personal bank account. Now, if I'm taking a withdrawal twice a month, I'm going to split that in two. So it'll be $2,500 on the 15th of the month, $2,500 on the 30th of the month. And I would simply do a transfer from my personal expense account in my business to my personal bank account. But now I know specifically which account do I draw that money from. So then I know I'm not overspending. So I know I'm not taking tax money. So I know I'm still building my $1 million savings and my future. Then what's left over is what we have to spend in our business. It becomes very clear. Oh, I'm thinking about going to a conference. Well, let me look at my business expense account. Do I have the money in there? I'm thinking about getting updated photos. Let me go to my business account and see if I have money in there. I'm thinking about doing XYZ, blowing up my next listing with the highest drone photos, the best images, that's going to cost thousands of dollars. I'm going to my business account to see if I have the money to do that. And if you're really dialed in, you're going to know your monthly business expenses on average for things like MLS fees and realtor dues and all of the things. So I'm going to know by looking at my business expense account, how many months can I get through? I know my calculation, let's just say it's $2,000 a month. My business expenses are $2,000 a month. In my business expense account, I have $6,000. That means if I manage my money well, I'm going to cover my business expenses for 3 months. 3 months. Now, I oftentimes hear this. The current way we're managing our money is, Angela, today I know I need to pay the mortgage, so I'm going to go to my business account and I'm going to make a transfer. Then tomorrow I have to go to the grocery store and I'm going to go to my business account. I'm going to make a transfer. And the kids need new clothes. This weekend, I'm going to go to my business account and I'm going to make a transfer. And before you know it, we've done 30 transfers in 30 days from our business account to our personal account. We spent money that is meant to be for our taxes, meant to be our future, because we just didn't know. We didn't know what money was meant for our personal spending. So this is the ultimate banking setup. It is something I work with every single one of my clients. We dial it in specifically for you. However, if you just want a place to start, this is the place to start it. Quick overview of all these accounts again. Your commission deposit account is number 1. Your taxes account is number 2, 25% of every commission check. Your $1 million savings that goes toward your future is savings account number 2. Your paid time off so that you don't burn out, so you can go on vacation, so you can have a long weekend and not feel like you are taking away from your business is your next checking account. Personal expenses is for personal expenses. You're transferring money from there once or twice a month to cover things like the mortgage and the gas and the groceries. And then again, the last area is my business expenses. This is the money that is left over to pay for all of my business expenses. High overview is this screen, so you can see the account breakdown all at once. Now I'm going to throw a bonus on you. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but I often get asked, Angela, what do I do with my $1 million savings? There's so many options. There's so many things that I like. What do I do with it? So here's a couple things. First of all, if you're thinking about retirement and I haven't started saving, how do I calculate that? How do I know what I need? What's my bogey? Like, how much do I even need to set aside for my retirement? There's something called the Rule of 25 in the financial advisory world. The Rule of 25 states you figure out your annual expenses personally, and you multiply that by 25. That gives you the amount of money, cash or equity, you need to be able to retire. So if my annual expenses are $100,000, I multiply that by 25, I need 2.5 million. Most real estate agents I know can operate on $150,000 a year as of right now. Future might look different. So about $2.5–3 million, excuse me, is a good bogey. So if you're thinking about that as a strategy for your $1 million savings, right there is where it starts. But there's also something called a smart money investment order. Good screenshot right here. We always want to go in order of which we get least to most taxed. If I'm earning money, I sure as heck want to have it taxed as less as possible. So we're taking our 5% and we're looking for free money, like things like HSA accounts. Do I qualify for those? Do I have a spouse in my household that earns a 401k and can we get a match on that? Then I want to look at tax-free money. Can I put any of my money into things like Roth IRAs, life insurance policies, municipal bonds, free tax-free money? Then I want to move to tax-deferred money. Things like traditional IRAs or 401ks, solo 401ks, SEP IRAs is my tax-deferred money bucket. And then my last bucket, because everything is double taxed in this bucket, are things like stocks and mutual funds and real estate. Now you might say, Angela, I love real estate. I'm putting all my eggs into real estate. Awesome. My job is just to educate you on what your options are so you can make the most informed decision for your future. And through that, knowing what is even available to you, because oftentimes we do not. So I hope you can build yourself a multi-million-dollar portfolio from starting with the financial foundation that I taught you today. And it truly, truly just starts with separating out your money into the different purposes that you have. And this is my purpose. My purpose is my family. My purpose is my children. I don't want them to live the life that I did. I consider myself, I really, really, truly believe I was given the life I was given because I had to change the generations after me. And I was the person chosen to do that. That's the only way I can make sense of it. The only way I can make sense of it. And my job being in front of you today is all that has led me to be here today. so that you could hopefully hear a message of hope that if someone like me did it, you can do it too. I say at 43 years old, my net worth is almost $4 million. I want to make as many multi-millionaires as possible. So if you're looking to connect with me, I have two connection ways. Thank you, Anthony, for your time. I have joining my Facebook group. I have a private Facebook group that I launch speakers and live coaching and master classes and all the things in that real estate group or in that realtor group. And then anyone that's on the call today or in the future that's watching the playback, I am giving you free access to a 21-day program that literally walks you through first the bank that I suggest for opening these accounts and walks you through step by step by step how to set this program up without having to figure it out on your own. Because there is a bank out there that will do all of this for you. And it's free, even better. So that's it, you guys. If you want to reach out to me at any time with any questions, link to me on Facebook. You can send me a text message, send me an email. My website's under construction right now. It should be back up in February. We're kind of revamping it for 2026, but lots of great things coming. Does anybody have any questions? I know that was a lot of information today.
Could you go back to the slide before so I could scan the QR code
My
for the
part?
one? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much for this presentation. Thank you, Anthony.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey, everyone. Angela, do you have a few minutes for questions?
Yes, yes, I have a few
Questions?
minutes.
I'll hop in. Angela, thank you very much.
Of
This
course.
was just so dynamic. And I have two questions for you. One, any relation to Wayne Dyer?
1 second. I got to step away for a second. Sorry.
You know, that comes up quite often.
Yes, I would
Um,
think.
I wish,
Yeah.
because that means that I would probably have some his financial legacy. But
Oh,
no,
well,
no
you
relation to Wayne Dyer.
you certainly have a legacy, and
Oh, thanks.
you're really inspiring. And then the second one is, so you're in Charleston, South Carolina?
I am.
Okay, so my daughter was house sitting, and the lady went to Charleston, South Carolina, and she came back and brought us this big bag of Charleston Gold rice, and it's literally the best rice I've ever had, ever. Okay, so I love the rice from Charleston, South Carolina, but in any event, I'll yield the floor in case some other ladies have some questions. And again, thanks, Angela.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Maybe we could take off. Angela, can you take off the screen share for a second?
Oh, sure. Stop sharing. There you
Perfect.
go. Yep.
That was absolutely amazing. Sorry, I just had to step away just for a second. Does anyone else have any questions?
Oh, I see the chat.
Okay, I'll jump back in. So, right in the beginning, as you were starting, like just the first couple of minutes, you had spoke about conscious, and it was, could you just kind of repeat what that was? I was busy trying to find my notebook. So, it was like first, what I recall, because I can't multitask, is where we get to raise our consciousness for this to ever, and then evaluate and inventory what we're doing there. It was right around there. If you can easily repeat that, it would be great.
Yep, sure. True transformation in our life and in our business and with our finances comes from understanding the underlying patterns of behavior that we hold. How did we get to where we are? What did we learn as children? What did we observe in our life? What did we learn was right and wrong? What did we notice in our parents and how they were handling their own money? Or our mother and how she was handling her own money? Was there a lot of arguments and fighting? Was it living paycheck to paycheck? Was it there was a ton of money, but I don't know how my parents made that money. They never taught me. Is understanding your history from when you were little and how that affects you today. It's also understanding your triggers. What triggers me to spend money? What am I trying to release? What situation do I get myself in? I have a client of mine, anytime she gets rejected in a real estate transaction, like she's not chosen, she literally would go spend $10,000 on a vacation to feel better because that rejection hurt her so much. And that all stemmed from growing up and just rejection after rejection after rejection. And the way she overcame it was now I'm just going to go spend a lot of money anytime I feel rejection. Not knowing this, going 50, she's almost 60 years old, not realizing, oh my gosh, this spent from when I was younger and going through all the rejection that I went through to see how it morphed into today. And a client tells me, no, I can't sell their house. And now I go spend $10,000 on a vacation. Knowing your triggers is so important in this process because until you know them, you can't break them. You can't undo them. You can't rewire yourself. Good question.
Wow,
Thanks,
so powerful.
guys.
All right, guys. Again, if you did not catch the QR codes that Angela put up earlier, just text me or email me, and I will get that information out to you. If no one else has any questions or comments, I guess we'll end it there. Anybody going once, going twice? All
You're
right.
welcome.
Angela, thank you so much. That was so powerful, and I clearly personally have a lot of work to do.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
thank you so much, everyone, and we'll speak to you all very soon. Take
Take
care.
care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.